can well imagine such a small panel. Have you ever seen? So, Krishnan, your task is to end in 1 hour's time. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. The most difficult task always comes to the moderator. I only hope that my mind is in place by the end of the session. But good morning to all. How are you all feeling? How are you all feeling? Okay, I thought it should be great, but nevertheless, we'll attempt to do that by the end of the session. But it's my proud privilege. Thank you to CII, thank you to Raman sir, Dr. Hiranandani. Probably this is my first time ever I'm going to call myself an organizational psychologist. I studied, I trained, but today I'm feeling very relieved because I'm not the only one. I'm surrounded by 2 counseling psychologists, experienced ones, especially females who know their business. I have absolutely on the right side, at the right time, the best psychiatrist I've known in Mumbai, Dr. Harish, Shetty, right? And happy to note that the group HR who took the risk of hiring me about 8 years ago, he's also here with me. So he still believes in me, I'm happy. And last but not the least, we have a 40 under 40 leader who does the business and someone who's young to be called a geriatrician, Dr. Prem. So don't go by what he looks like, but he actually deals in very serious business. Now we have only 1 hour, so I'm going to take some quick time. I want all the panelists to sort of introduce themselves. I have given a nickname to myself, so between me and my wife, we are both psychologists. I'm organizational, she is counseling psychologist, so I call myself a catalyst with K. She's L, Lata, so both are in capitals. Now over to you, Nutan ji.
I looking forward to an engaging session for all of us. So I did think this one over, and in my work I act as a kaleidoscope, offering different perspectives to people I work with.
I hope to stand by the meaning of my name, but I love being compassionate.
My name is Harish, Shetty. I work with people from different sectors. I am a potato. Potato is a vegetable which gets into any dish, retains its taste and adds value to the dish.
Hello, I'm Piyali, and everybody's given a beautiful nickname to themselves. Mine is P for passionate. I've been in this field for 14 years and I'm in love with what I do, connecting with people, understanding, being in the space of mental health. So thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Biswa, and the one word that connects, the connect word is with what I connect with people, with industry, with organizations, and my company also does the same thing, connecting different companies into a fintech app. That's it for my side.
So I was thinking in 1 word or 2 words how to express. So then I realized all through my life since the age of 20, I have only managed people. Sometimes twice of my age when I was young, now also, right? Not twice, but now younger than me. So love and care what comes to my mind. So while managing people, I have kept these 2 things, Krishnan. Love and care, right? That's what represents me. Thank you.
I think great introductions. I actually forced them to think through this, honestly. And I used my muscle as a moderator, which I shouldn't have. I wasn't sure whether they'll respond, but they have. But what we'll try and do in this 1 hour that we have is try and break this session into 2 parts. The first part is about understanding the speaker's point of view, their experiences, what they feel about mind matters, work, life, and what are the various perspectives they would break to. And the part 2 would be largely on possibly some actionable takeaways for people sitting here. And we were actually pondering how many are professionals here and how many are non-professionals. I'm assuming everybody is a professional. And in psychology, we have a concept of what we call as whole human, right? What is a whole human? When you come to work, you're a whole human. When you go home, you're a whole human. There is no switch which says on or off. You can't have a great work and bad life and great work. Never happens. Right? So, having said that, now I'm going to take the first question to Dr. Harish Shetty, sir. I think a couple of things that, sir, we are looking to you is, from your side, what are the key barriers that prevent people from seeking help at a very early stage, especially mental health support? And how do you think we can address? Question number one. Question number two, do you see any changes between rural and urban patterns on mental health challenges?
One myth which the world suffers from is time is always the best healer when it comes to the mind. When it comes to the heart, they rush to the ICU. When there's fever, they think it's COVID or dengue and they will drop dead. So time is not always the best healer. That's one sentence you need to spread across all interfaces, industry, home, etc. I would like to share my angst about what's happening around. There's angst all around. People are irritable on the roads, in trains, airport lounges, in offices. Somehow they curb themselves because they don't want to get sacked, let explode somewhere else. I'm really worried about obnoxious bosses at home as well as in the office. Their numbers are increasing. I still remember a Delhi CHRO coming to Bombay, and he said that 6 months I have been very irritable. My team has been beautiful. They walked up to me and said, "Sir, kuch to problem hai, sir. Aap thoda chutti le lo." And he came here, and I found that he had major depression. No reason, no stress. No reason, no stress. Mine is like a fuse; it can go off without reason. Yours or mine. And he was wise enough to come seek help and leave. But there are obnoxious guys across all board, across all ages. And they enjoy demeaning people, and that is a big thing now. I want it now. They don't want it now. And I see a lot of their victims as a psychiatrist. Now let's look at both sides and also the barriers. People are obnoxious, they forget that they are killing their soul every day. Intense love, intense hate interferes with love everywhere. Victims are those who are obnoxious. Some just live the life and say, "Ye practical hai," but they die from inside. Some confront and change their jobs. Some bully them because those who are obnoxious, when bullied, they become calm. So this anger and irritability is seen across families, everywhere. Why is this? Why is this? And this is because globalization has an adverse effect, that is disconnection. Emotional contact time has gone down, family contact time has gone down, and the entire orchestra across the entire body is playing games, and the pancreas goes on strike, it gives you diabetes, the thyroid really goes on strike, it gives you hypothyroidism, and that's what happens. Now the barriers here are, the obnoxious guy, when he gives numbers, nobody interferes with his life. Numbers are there, kaise bhi ho. There's complaint of workplace harassment, but nothing is done. Obnoxious guys who manage the bosses last in the system. Boss management, they last in the system for long, and you'll be surprised. They are at the top. But the point is, they forget that corporate justice might not catch up with them, but cosmic justice will. Why don't you clap? So, barriers are, we have an EAP and we are happy with it. नहीं चलेगा. ज़माना बदल रहा है. You need to have a mental health policy. Inclusive, where there's a mental health checkups happening every 3 months, GDPR taken care of, and the CEO and the CEO's wife goes for the checkup to break stigma, and that encourages others to seek help. That is the first thing. And the second thing is, which is also very important, is wellness and illness both have to be really taken care of. If the MD has depression, it is advantageous. My experience. See, we don't laugh when we say if MD has hypertension. This is the stigma. Then if I ask you, how many had malaria? How many have depression? See the smokes. That is stigma. That is stigma. I'll tell you, in a media house years ago, the MD had depression and he recovered, and he was so empathetic towards everybody who has mental health problems. So the point is, mental health checkups, inclusive mental health policy brings down barriers, and taking care of those creative psychopaths who go up, get away with all what they do, and excluding them from the process. Lastly, it is important to understand that a lot of executives now have angioplasty, angiography. So Harvard says, if I say Harvard says, then you'll be impressed. If I give an Indian name, Mr. Tripathy says, Harvard says that in the 75-year-old study, which is longitudinal, that it is the social connect which improves health. We knew it all the while, but data. Second thing which says which improves mental health of parents is children who help their mothers at home have better self-esteem, more confident, more grounded, and connected. And I think these are very different takeaways, because corporates who take care of the children of the employees, they earn better than the corporates who take care of only the employees. Thank you.
Any take on rural versus urban? Just one few minutes.
Yeah. If you look at the data, 1 out of 7 Indians are mentally ill. And the data is for across India. Across the world, it's 1 out of 8. If you look at the NCRB data, which is very, very interesting, 2022, 2023 is about to come, 1 out of 3 suicides in the country is because of family problems. We don't have data for urban rural, but there is a movement in Maharashtra, Gav Tithe Manas Upchar. Psychiatrists are going to the villages and conducting camps, and they found that those villages with their families intact, with the Mahajans intact, the Sarpanch is very active, mental health issues are less. Those families who are isolated, the issues are more. Now, one more piece of interesting data. UP and Bihar has the lowest suicide rates in the country. Now, I will not laugh at that, I will not say that it's underreporting. There is something happening in these two states. If I get a patient from UP, comes with 5 people. ये हमारे गांव वाला है, ये हमारे चाचा है, ये हमारे गांव के बगल का जो मस्जिद है उसका मुल्ला है. So there is something there. So I request all PhD guides to send your PhD students, MPhil students to the villages of Bihar and UP to find out why. But at the same time, UP has the worst figures for atrocity against women, but least suicide figures. There's no clear data of urban and rural, though when they found that if you go house to house and check for suicides, the numbers are more. But the family systems are quite strong. Harvard says social connect helps. But how rural is India's rural place? My place, Bangalore, my mother is staying alone with somebody. Earlier the house was bubbling with people, so we're all in the city, so there's a lot of change happening across the rural areas.
Thank you, sir. I think very, very valid points. And what I only could take out, which I would not sum later, but I think UPBR seems to be an outlier here. Very interesting. Now comes the next person which I want to target. My question is Dr. Prem. You tackle a very important piece of information, which is geriatrics. And we know India is going to be at some point in time to get old and older and probably have the oldest. Now, how does sort of mental health affect the overall health of adults, especially older adults? And any specific strategies that you think can be put in place for a country like India to tackle the mental health of the geriatrics, apart from medicine itself?
I think one of the most important things which is going around is the fact that there are too many myths. So if a person is getting older, you're feeling low, ठीक है, part of aging. Why don't you watch some TV? Connect with your friends, it's okay. The red flags are going around. But you don't realize it. Why? Because jo dikhta hai, wahi bikta hai. It's like chest pain, it will be gastritis, but you will go to the casualty because it should not be a heart attack. But in case of mental health, it doesn't work that way. So I believe that, as I was talking earlier, that health is a state of physical, mental and social well-being. And all the three pillars are important. You might have all the money on the world, nobody to share it with. You might have all the social construct, but not have the physical and mental health. So I think, but the mental health part sort of connects both, because without social connect, you don't have a mental health, and without a physical, if you are not physically able, you don't have social connect. So I think in older people, the myths are something which there's a typical negative stereotype, and it is from the side of the older adult themselves. A lot of times, especially maybe because we are talking about workplace, people who are close to retirement, they say, no, we are going to have plenty of time. We'll do this, we'll do that, but not organized. So once the clock strikes 59 years, 365 days, that is the day of retirement, suddenly the next day is, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I have all the time, but I don't know. Pre-retirement workshops are very important. So pre-retirement should happen at least maybe 1 year before. Prepare. We always prepare for things, right? We prepare for exams, we prepare for everything, but not prepare for retirement. So I think that is one of the very important strategies where everything should be discussed. Not only financial, not only social, but mental health, physical health. Everything that is promoted a lot is financial security. Nobody really talks about the mental health part of it. Why? Because people think if you have money, everything is okay. No, it's not the case at all. I know of people who have a lot of money, but it's just that empty, huge. And they tend to move to senior living communities. Why? Because I am one, I have 8 maids. What is the use? What is the interaction? They respect me because I pay them, not necessarily because maybe I am good. So I think that is one of the very important strategies. Secondly, everybody in this room might or might not be a caregiver for an older person. So, but you should know about elder care not because of that. You should know about elder care because you are going to get old yourself. So be selfish in that way. Then caregiver stress, according to me, is very important. So we tend to always try to focus on the older person and forget the caregiver. And the caregiver is of all age groups. 85 taken care by an 82-year-old. 100 these days taken care by an 80-year-old. 80 taken by a 60-year-old son. So it's like people are crossed the boundary on being old on both sides. So what is important is Swayam Seva, Fir Sarva Seva. If you take care of yourself, then you will be able to take care of others. Dr. Prem ne bolte very easily do. बहुत ही आसान होता है करना. It's not. But you have to take out that time, because if you don't take care of yourself, you will break. You will break, the care of the older person goes. Then another thing is, stop worrying about society when you are trying to take care of your parents, grandparents. Society will always be judgmental. Now we have different types of cares. Now if you decide you are not able to take care of your older person, maybe the person has got maybe cognitive issues, requires high level of care, and you are not able to, you have to work, you have your own life, and you decide, okay, let me sort of put my older person into an assisted living. There society starts saying, oh, so the child is going to put, भेज दिया आपने older person को, माता पिता को, ये सिखाया है श्रावण ने, प्यार नहीं है. Absolutely not. You have to understand that there might be somebody better, more equipped than you to take care. And if finance is not an issue, please do that. Why? Because yes, it is expensive. Why? Because the level of care is high. But are you able to do it? If you reach breakdown point, then you will not be able to take care. So I think that is another thing to understand, that you have to only consider those people who matter in your life, and not necessarily the society, which usually everybody wants to comment on everything from a cricket match to politics to things which cannot be done. And finally, as far as older adults are concerned, belief in themselves is what I always tell them. They have seen everything. Respect that. Ups, lows, private, public, family matters, financial matters, everything they have seen. So it's like a life circle for them. Do not treat them like children. Do not quote that they are children, because they are not. बच्चों जैसे behave कर रहे हैं. Absolute no. That is the most offensive statement that you can actually do. So respect their experience and learn from them. And I think that is the biggest blessing I have, because that's what I do on an everyday basis.
I think you have blessings for another 7 generations, the way you're going on. Brilliant. Thank you for the points. Next speaker, I think Nutan ji, you've been a consultant psychologist. From your experience, how do you find integration of various therapies with daily habits? Do they really improve a person's mental health outcomes? Number one. And any 1 core or 2 core pieces of advice that you would give people here on managing stress, anxiety? I know Mumbai traffic, but nevertheless, these are the 2 parts of the question, if you could help us with that.
Okay. Alright. So, counseling and therapy, a lot of words, they are interlinked. Counseling is understood as somebody giving advice. Counseling is not necessarily giving advice. I personally don't like to tell my clients what to do, or anybody who I may be interacting with on a professional basis. I will guide them to figure out what's best for them. And therapy is under various schools of psychology, different ways of looking at human beings, and through the models of therapy, whether it's transaction analysis, whether it is somatic, which is about the body, whether it is EMDR, which I do, which is about trauma. So different schools of psychology, ways of looking at human being, our lives in society, and then using interventions. So some of these interventions are things that in a session help. Going for therapy is it's a personal choice. It's a self-growth, journey of self-growth. And a lot of people are like, I've always looked after myself. I figured my life on my own. Why do I need to reach out to somebody, a stranger, to tell me how to live my life? So I went for therapy when I was 23 years old. Fortunately, I had a wonderful experience, and which is why I went on to study, and now I do the similar kind of work. So it was beyond my level of understanding. And at times we can all be stuck mentally, emotionally. We could be stuck in life, in work. Life is huge. So it's an interaction of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, how our body responds, how we behave. So if we look at ourselves as this is our inner self, and me interacting with the world outside, which is family, which is work, which is friends. Sometimes we need to figure out all my focus is on work. If work goes away, then we are going to collapse. Because to live a holistic life is to have various threads which are connecting us. And yes, as others have mentioned, that the threads that connect us to society, to people, is very, very important. It's a huge indicator for happiness. So, therapy is a journey which we take. Not necessarily the only route. People can take a spiritual path, they can take a curious, self-driven path, but it's a way to understand what drives us, how we respond, how we feel, how to manage our feelings, and in that process, then how to live a more effective life. Kind of curate our life, rather than just deal with life as it's given to us. Thank you. It's a lot of intense work. It's not easy. It's intense work for me, which I love, and it's intense work for the people who decide to take on this journey with me or with any therapist, counselor. But the second part about practices, now we are at different stages. Each one of us is at a different stage and an age at a different part of life. So according to our stage of life, our goals, figuring out our goals, and our personal level. Somebody may struggle with overthinking, so then a practice of journaling might help. Somebody might have problems with managing their emotions, so perhaps breathing, mindfulness, paying attention to their emotions and staying with it, which I think all of us can do. It's a simple thing that if it's the one takeaway, is taking 2 minutes down to just observing the mind, observing what we are feeling at any given time, and this practice helps to know us better. So staying with it, mindfulness. Some people are highly kinesthetic, so maybe having an exercise routine is more important, dance. So any practice that is suitable for each one of us. What works for one person doesn't have to work for the other. So finding our own individual thing. If it's exercise, for some people, if it's let's say exercise. Some of us can choose dance, somebody else would like to run. So finding that those things that we need to work on and finding that one practice that will work for us.
Excellent. I think I just realized one element. I don't know how many people know there are 14 types of intelligence in a human being. And that's yourself. So figure that out. You could be a great singer, artist, whatever. Just pick that one is what I realized from her discussion. Fair point. Oh, now over to Panjikar sir. You've been across the sector, being an ex-serviceman, ran troops, now rallying young and older troops in business side. What do you think today the organizations face as challenge in terms of supporting their employees around mental health when there is huge pressure on growth, market share, profits, and also if there is any example that you can talk about, an initiative that you realize in some part of your career which you think stands out as a support example for mental health of employees, friends, family, whatever.
Right. Okay, so I'll speak purely from corporate perspective, right? And I'll also tell what we do and what are the challenges. So take for example, an employee doing very well, top performer, suddenly stops performing. An employee who is very nice to everybody starts fighting. An employee suddenly slaps his supervisor, and all these are genuine, real cases, right? It keeps on happening. Now, this should sound an alarm bell among especially the HR fraternity. Now, since we started this company maybe 18 years ago, this was the first agenda, and as I said, that caring and love is one thing which comes to me first. So what we did, so we adopted a 4-pronged strategy. One is that making people aware that there has to be an alarm because of this. So making people aware what is this. Second is creating a policy which Dr. Shetty said. So we have a very well-defined policy. If these kind of incidences you figure out, you inform us. It is not condemning the employee but talking to them. And then we have got a team, so we work very closely with Dr. Mahesh Parekh, who is a retired psychiatrist from KEM.
And
PhD in Gita. He is the only person who has and use of so his PhD topic I have read it, sir.
my teacher.
That's it. So okay, he is my teacher also. So he has written a PhD on use of Gita in psychotherapy, and I have read the thesis. So that is brilliant. So I work very closely with him. In connection with him, we have made a test now. Sir, we have created an online test through which you can answer few questions. The test takes 20 minutes. I call it Merrill Wellness Awareness Test. By the end of the test, you get your score, and the score tells you go to a psychiatrist. Few of the things, or you don't go to a psychiatrist. Because, so the testing, so when the alarm bell goes, you test. And then don't create a stigma around it. It is personal. We have got people who can talk to them one-to-one and send them to Dr. Mahesh Parekh, who will give them some kind of pill, and the person will be all right. So I am saying the organization has to be very, very concerned and sensitive to this. So,
I think this is excellent.
thank you. So this this test we are using, so what we do is, so I just sum up. The policy we have created is these kind of behavior, if you notice, inform us. Right? Second is, talk to the person, get into the test, and if needed, send it to a psychiatrist. Make people aware. So we do a lot of awareness program about stress management. Stress management and the science of this. And as Dr. Shetty very clearly said, so this comes unannounced. There is no need to be that you are under stress. It can just happen. Right? But there is a built up to it. And one thing which we always tell people is, and I am telling you also, if you are getting irritated on something, watch yourself. Right? Because irritation will lead to anger. And anger will lead to frustration if you can't do anything about it. And then it goes down and down. And if you create an arbitrary scale, so 50, if you are vibrating at 50, it means you are not right. You have to catch yourself when you are irritated. Go to hopefulness. You have to tell yourself, as somebody said, that you need to help yourself. So this is the helping yourself. And this we teach to people. So Dr. Mahesh Parikh also teaches our people on stress management. We have got a beautiful program on stress management. And what I'm telling you all also is, stress is not as such bad. The stress that brings distress to you is the problem. So in the company, so the toxic behavior of CEO which somebody spoke about is very true. A lot of people, so the HR has and the CEO has a responsibility to take care of those people and even help them. Because, there was a research done in Italy which talks about mirror neuron, right? So two brains, like we are sitting together, our brains are connected through this mirror neuron. Now, when I am speaking to you, my mindset gets transferred to you. And it flows from the position of power to down the order. So if the boss is toxic, the chances are his team will become toxic. And it has a scientific basis. Right? So, in the last what I am saying, Krishnan, is this is very, very relevant topic, and that's why I thought that I must come here, because all that I have told you, I have experienced it, and now we have got 12,000 people in our company. 10,000 working in the same plant, so there are different plants, and out of them almost 2,500 women employees. We have deliberately employed a lot of women employees. So being a woman employee, you have got double pressure. You work at home also, you have to deliver at work also. So taking care of them becomes more important for me. And not only them, then rest of the people also. So awareness, catching them when it happens, taking them through the test, and then helping them without any stigma, without any job loss, without any fear of I will lose my job if I am identified with stress or anxiety or even mental depression. It is not going to happen. Policy says if you have a problem, we'll take care of you. Right?
I have a question. May I ask it?
Thank you, at last. I'm sorry. We have another 20 minutes only, but nevertheless, I think I'm glad you touched upon the gender part of it. Since it's a gender part, let me come to a female counseling psychologist here. Piyali, you have been doing this work for a very, very long time, and I was very happy to hear your story. Through your platform and the work that you people do, what do you think are the trends that are emerging when it comes to mental health needs in corporates at this point in time? Maybe post-pandemic, if there is any change that you see in India. And also the second part of the question, how do you ensure that your mental health services are inclusive and accessible to diverse groups as time is evolving?
Thank you. There has been a lot of change post-pandemic for sure. And I think the biggest change was, they're both good and bad. The good change is the awareness part. People are a lot more aware of what it means to be open about it, the stigma that is usually attached to what I want, what people would say, how it's going to impact me, my family, all those have marginally decreased to a large extent. People are a lot more open to talk about what they're feeling. And, sometimes therapy is not about finding a solution or coming to the last stage of, now everything is gone back to normal. Therapy is not that. It's more about identifying what are changes that I am noticing in myself. What are my thoughts, what are my feelings, what are my behaviors, how are they impacting me? And when you have a conversation with somebody who's experienced in the field, you also are able to know that, okay, this particular thought has this particular reaction. So it's like a cyclic effect. The way I'm feeling is exactly how I'm thinking, how I'm behaving. So I'm feeling sad. My thoughts, automatic thoughts are going to be negative. Like, there's nobody going to understand me. We have all in black and white kind of a situation. And when we are feeling negative, we are thinking in a negative way, our behaviors automatically become negative. We stop doing things that we once enjoyed. We go away from people, we become more isolated, and that becomes like a cycle, right? Those I feel people are a lot more aware of now. That at what stage, what are the symptoms that, like you were saying, distress and stress are different. At what point is I am feeling distressed, and at what point I should come and talk about. So that has been a good change. The other things that have changed mostly in trends in our corporate clients, A is the, it's a holistic approach again. Sleep-related issues have been one of the most important concerns that people talk about. All age groups, children who are also, exposed to social media, who are also exposed to OTT platforms, they have access to a mobile phone. All of us also are on the same level, right? We're also impacted with the similar things. That has been a constant that we've seen. Now, I think you were also mentioning, Krishnan, that you can't segregate and say, this is my personal life, this is my professional life, they will not have any impact on each other. You can't strictly compartmentalize these two things. They will have an impact on each other. So, when you're not able to sleep well, your body is exhausted. You're feeling tired faster. So, at work, you are feeling slightly disoriented. Sometimes you feel tired faster, sometimes you feel irritated faster. Anger issues have been reported. So a large segment of our counseling sessions are to do with self-development concerns, which is more personal related. Like, I want to improve a certain area of myself, I want to improve my lifestyle, I want to get a skill that I want to learn, I want to move away from addictions. It could be alcohol, smoking, even phone, everything. Those are common trends that we've noticed. Relationships are equally important. I think as individuals, we are not just in our workspace, we are complete human beings, right? So our relationships are have the potential to cause a lot of damage. So when we are not able to communicate right. So I may be in an emotional state, and in that emotional state, I feel that, okay, this is the right thing. I've expressed it. Oftentimes, we take our anger out on people who we take for granted कि इसको निकाल सकते हैं. Like we shout, मतलब घर पे भी we might be shouting at our kids or slamming the door. Yeah, it's just displacement of our anger, and that creates the negative impact at home. You feel, things are not finding its own space. My work is also getting impacted. घर पे I'm also having a little bit of concerns that, so everything seemed like out of balance. And I think that's what Dr. Panjikar was also saying, that the idea of stress is when we all have stress. We can't, it's inevitable in us. If we don't have stress, then I think that will be the last day. So all of us have stress, but we also have coping resources. It's like a tarazu, it's like a weighing scale. So if they're on the same level, then we don't feel the negative impact of stress. The problem happens when the stresses increase and the resources to cope drastically drop. That's when we start feeling it a lot more. I think that's what's happening right now. We continuously feel the negative impacts of stress because of sleep deprivations, because our families are, getting impacted with our behaviors, or something is not right in what we are going through. We're not feeling settled, and the coping resources like, things that we enjoy earlier, things that make us feel happy, stay connected with people, those are diminishing. So people have, the last, I think, 3 months, one of the most common topics that people talked about was isolation, which probably started post-pandemic a lot more. The concept of feeling lonely, even in a group of people, I still feel that I'm lonely. I feel that people will not understand because I may not be able to express what I'm going through. Who's going to listen to me? Are they going to really invest in me? Those are very common themes and topics that people are talking about. I think the next part you talked about how inclusive our services are. we've been in this industry, 1to1 has been in this industry for 23 years, and we've learned over these years what works and what are the different things that are different from people. Not one shoe size will obviously not fit everybody. There are people who are at different stages of life, like Dr. Prem was saying, at pre-retirement. We also have children, we have life stages, we are moving, as a corporate, campus to corporate, a very young employee, their challenges are very different compared to when they've gotten into the first year, second year, mid-management. That transition is a life transition. Your work transition is a big change that you go through. Any transition causes some discomfort initially. We have special programs for managers because sometimes you're in the top and you feel lonely. You feel that you have to do the right things. You may not have somebody to share what you are feeling through. Right? So we have specially designed programs for those managers. Different stages in your life, like when you become a parent, deciding to have a child. There are so many thoughts that you may be going through. There could be medical conditions that you be going through. There are societal pressures that you might be experiencing. So we have programs defined for women. We have programs defined for managers, the campus, young hires. Also in terms of people in different cohorts. Somebody who is in like a blue-collar employee, their way of consumption of therapy and counseling will be very different from somebody who's probably sitting in one of the big four. So we've created content around it. So therapy is one aspect. Mental health is a bigger term. So not everybody may require counseling as such. People may require self-help, articles, podcasts, different ways to consume an article, the same content. So we've designed it, making sure that every age group, every cohort is feeling inclusive and there is something for everyone.
Thank you, Piyali. That's very elaborate. So Biswa, youngest, and obviously not the last but the latest. So you people are doing some fabulous work in terms of taking insurance to the last mile, to the people who employ even a minimum number of people. Your experience around how insurance and wellness programs sort of play important role in fostering great mental and holistic health at workplaces, the kind of work you guys do, if you could throw some light on that.
If you see today, the insurance is no more insurance. It's a 360-degree healthcare benefits. If I meet 300 days to HR, CFOs, the companies, they no more tell me that I need a sum assured for my company employees. I need something that will benefit my employees. So when I talk to the HR, CHROs precisely, so they tell me what you can do for my employee to de-stress. I have spoken to startups, I have spoken to SMEs, I have spoken to the enterprise level also. But across the industry, people have started talking about the mental health is being given very, very vital role now. So he tells me, insurance to de rahe ho, uske saath kya doge mere employee ko? So now companies have started asking us, can you do a workshop for my employees to understand what is the level of the anxiety they have. So I will not quote the name of the company, but it's an e-commerce company. So we did this survey with them and they were surprised to see around 62% of their employees were having anxiety. And the sample size was around 300 plus. So they were surprised to see 62%, how is it possible? We never put pressure.
But anxiety, what is an illness?
Yes. So there was set of questions when we do this type of assignments or workshop. We don't tell that this is a problem, this is a situation and how you behave. So people started giving their honest and the result was clearly told, we will not take any employee number, we will not take any employee name. Just you do this assignment and give us. And slowly the companies have started looking into the mental health as a solution. And trust me, this has an impact on your insurance also. If your employees are well-being, they are not going to become more ill. They will not go more to the hospital. To keep it crisp, I will tell today the corporate world, the corporate angle, what we see every day. People have started looking at insurance. People have started looking at a doctor consultation. People are started looking at a health checkup. People have started looking the well-being of the employees, saying that can you have some therapy sessions for my employees? Can you have some professional who can speak to them? As she was telling, it's true. You don't have people to talk. I have a manager. Can I tell what problem I have? No. He will judge me. Every corporate will judge you saying that, "Arey, aisa problem hai?" Okay, it will be part of your evaluation. But if you have a simple person who you can speak, this is a problem of my life, what I can do. It can be a very small problem at home, and post-pandemic, actually people have started speaking it. Before that, people don't speak. Anxiety to hota hai, stress to hota hai. But what is the level of that? There is a level. If you cross that, you will be in the hospital. Trust me. And today the corporate world is very, very smart. They understand this. The HR understands. The CEOs, the founders, they understand this, and they want a 360 healthcare package, not just insurance. So very, very clearly today, the mental health plays a big role, big role, and the mindfulness, the yoga sessions, the fitness, rightly told by sir, exercise can be also a part of it. Yoga can be a part of it. You have to find by yourself what exactly is helping you. Speaking to somebody, going to a gym, if you find this, you are going to be well-being, I'm telling you. That's from my side.
Now, the only thing is, we have flagged 10 minutes before the session ends, so obviously the later part of the session gets trimmed in the interest of the audience, otherwise you will kick us out. But just to keep the flow going, I'm going to shorten the questions, and I'll probably give my panelists about a minute to sort of give the very crisp answer to the question I'm going to ask, and then maybe we'll quickly take some questions from audiences and wind this up. So, Dr. Shetty, health professionals, you're a psychiatrist. Do you think people sitting here, the psychologists, the geriatric physicians, the HR, can we collaborate to do something?
Mental health is too important to be left to mental health professionals alone. And I'll quickly run through some points which I need to say. Top managers in every company need to have sessions on emotional competence. They destroy the bottom and the middle when they are rough. Sleep deprivation is a catastrophe. New evidence says it can lead to Alzheimer's disease also. Elderly people, if they are irritable and they are suspicious, they can be treated. Don't let them be. Don't say, "Ye to aadmi badal gaya." They can be treated very easily, and the family life can really change. Teach your children to pray. It helps connectivity. Ram Raksha, Kalma, at least Maghrib and Isha, Bible prayers. Teach them to help you in your household work, even if you have 10 servants. And teach your girls, never die for a guy. It's very common. Now there is stigma, so you're all laughing. 25-year-old Air India girl committed suicide few days. I've never heard this 20 years ago. Never die for a guy. Teach them to accept the body exactly as it is, so that they are really complete. Work-life balance is a myth. All of us. There's nothing like a work-life balance. Imbalance is a truth. Finding balance in imbalance is life. Help your husbands to cry. Help your husband to cry. I'm from an SSC board school, so family that cries together stays together. Find a difference between mindful kindness and mindless kindness. Sometimes the CHROs become very mindless and they grant a lot of sops to everybody. But remember, mindful kindness is very important. There's a difference between mindful kindness and mindless kindness. And I would lastly say, sir, do you have an interface of a psychologist also, or only a psychiatrist? Do you have an interface of a psychologist? You need to. You need to. Mahesh is my teacher and a good friend, but
I was about to tell him that we have got several psychologists in terms of every psychologist.
Very good, sir, very good. And lastly, intimacy issues is huge in corporates and lives. Sexless marriages are very common. Let me say, once you fail in an intimate interaction, people avoid the spouse, boy or a girl, but this can be corrected. And that is something I would like to give, and also I would like to not agree with him in one point, can I, sir? Please. Some people have great work lives, but bad family lives. Some people have great family lives, but bad work lives. Some people stay in the office for too long because there's something happening in the house. Lafda nahi, idhar baithne ka. Boss bhi kuch, sab kuch. They are not sitting for the benefit of the corporates. They are sitting for themselves. It is good to leave the office at between 8 hours. If you are effective in 8 hours, you will be effective. If you are not effective, you will not be effective in 12 hours. Thank you.
Okay. Difficult to catch up with this tempo, but Dr. Prem, your recommendations on lifestyle changes for elders, and you can call elders post 60, 65. What is your suggestion for them? Quickly.
Yeah, so the focus should be not on the elderly, it should be on the elderly. So try to always think them as a generation which is a positive, and the outlook comes from, I mean, in Marathi the worst word possible is matara, which itself said, which itself is derogatory. Always control the controllables. Traffic cannot be controlled, governance cannot be controlled. Your sleep can be. So you can sleep on time if you want to, you can eat on time. You can work the less amount of hour, you can make sure you take the earlier train to come back early. So those are all controllables. Focus on one of the biggest principles of successful aging is what you can still do. We keep seeing the glass or khali. So what you can still do. Why? Because if you focus on what you can still do, you make sure that you strengthen that to overcome your weakness. I'll just give a quick example. There was a great pianist in Austria known as Albert Schweitzer. So he was brilliant. But he developed Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's disease has got tremors, difficulty to walk. So playing a piano is out of question. But he announced a concert. So the society as usual, let's see, will he be able to play, will he not? Lot of guts, but hugely successful. So people were wondering what. He only played those tunes which needed tremors, shaking. So that is adjusting. So the older people actually adjust the best. And your lifestyle is not something you control after 60. Start now. It doesn't just suddenly clock 60 and you all the habits can change. Sleeping early, people at 80 do the same things that they maybe did at 40. Then another thing is social network, I think is very important, because in the pandemic also, I'll tell you, an example before I end is that the older people, you must be thinking that they were not able to go to the park, not meet everybody. So what? They connected on Zoom and every day people connected. As a child, as a grandchild, don't do things for them. As far as mental, give them that thing that they can do it. Acha, you want me to, please tell me how to use Zomato. You want to order something, I'll order it for you. Don't do that. They can learn and they will be better than you. So give them that chance rather than focusing on the fact that you do it for them. So I think that's
very nice. So Nutan ji, I know my favorite question, do you think there is a need for a psychologist at work?
Well, it helps. It helps in terms of accessibility. It helps in giving a signal that it's okay to reach out and that the company is pro-health. So I'll keep it at that and pass it on to others.
Oh, it's really crisp. Thank you. So Panjikar ji, we talked about toxic managers, toxic CEOs. First-time managers, suddenly this whole manager has become a damager in some cases. My only question to you is, what is the right time to start something called as a leadership training?
I'll just give you a data. You know how much leadership training spend is in the world? It's around $50 billion is spent on leadership training only. But still, every time you talk to a HR manager, you will say, I don't get right kind of people. So the leadership training has to be started at all levels in companies. People don't spend, many times companies fear that if I train them and they will leave and go to some other company, what will happen? Right? This is one of the concerns where people do. And it needs investment. Right? So to answer your question, we need to start as early as possible. We need to invest in people, and even if they leave and go, it does not matter. I come from Hindustan Lever, now Hindustan Unilever. There are 360 CEOs who have come out of Hindustan Unilever and now heading different companies in the country. Hindustan Unilever is still doing the same, is growing. So even if they go to the market, at the end of it, it is helping the industry.
But I'm sure you're also proud of me today.
Yes, now you can see an example in you, you have become a CEO now. Right.
Thank you, sir.
So, Piyali ma'am, I think very interesting question post-pandemic, this whole hybrid model. Do you think digital platforms have the ability to complement traditional methods in sort of delivering mental health support?
It is actually a very interesting question. Let's state that a human interaction cannot be replaced, but at the same time, the AI and the chatbots can actually complement in the process, right? Because it's available, you can connect faster, you can read faster, your attention spans have also reduced over years, and it's easier to get that connect running, but I have my biases, and as a counselor I feel that the human interaction and when you talk to a person and somebody real is listening to you in front, that has a different value.
That was very crisp. Thank you again, Piyali. I sort of concur partly. Biswa, coming to you, I think what you do is very, very different from what we all do here. What would be your pitch to organizations in terms of looking at insurance and mental health as one package? So I'm actually giving you an opportunity to pitch your business.
I will not. So I will not pitch. So the point is, you need to make the corporate understand that what is the need of the employee. It is not about the package or it's not about the insurance, it is about the well-being of the employee. Something we are trying to do for the society, and when we started this company, we actually thought of doing something good for the SMEs. Because if you see the enterprise side, people are there, they are taken care. And the startups and the SMEs, the smaller SMEs where the employee size is lesser than 200, 100, I find people with 3 people, I have seen startups with 7 people, they don't get this type of service. They have to go to 10 different vendors to get the same. So what at Onsurity we are trying to do, we are trying to bring them on one platform at what is possible for a startup, for a SME, enterprise, everybody can take the same benefits. But the more crucial thing is here to make the corporate or a SME or a startup understand that if at end of the day, everybody is a human being. And everybody can have stress, everybody can have anxiety, everybody can have a need of an insurance. If you go to a hospital, if somebody is not having insurance and he goes to a Lilavati or he goes to a hospital, what type of a cost can incur? And end of the day, that will impact his productivity. If he is not able to do that, then automatically he will leave the job or he may go back to his place. So these all are crucial points where we can actually tell the corporate it's required. So the pitch is very simple. There is a need of 360 degree of healthcare. It's not only insurance or mental health. That's from my side.
Thank you. Really appreciate this. I have, like a child in a college, captured so much notes. And as sir was telling me, why don't you give this across to me? I'll tell you a little secret which I discovered at the age of 50. I have dysgraphia. So neither of my teachers understood, nor anybody understood. So nobody understood what I wrote. But when I spoke, people said, "Isko takal hai." That's one part of psychology. But nevertheless, I think it's been a fabulous time. I personally have learned a lot. Thank you all for everything. But before we sign off, I think time to take some questions from the audience. There was one lady who was sitting in the back. She's been very, very patient. In the right word, not the healthcare patient, but patient in the psychological part. Thank you. So please. And please let us know who are you directing the question to.
Sure. I'm Swati Sinha from Ipsos Research. I'm representing Ipsos Research here. So my question, I have 2 quick questions if time allows. The first is to Dr. Panjikar. And second one is to Mr. Biswa. So I'll first go for Dr. Panjikar. So Dr. Panjikar, firstly, I really want to appreciate that you have a mental health policy in the organization, which is really, really great. As an organization, we are yet to reach at that policy stage. Let me be vulnerable at this point. So you said that there is a test, and if somebody is not clearing the test, they need to seek medical support or doctor's help, right? So what to those who are not failing in the test? So what kind of best practices you have in the organization who are in between red flag and not require the doctor's help. So how do you support that cohort?
Right. So one thing which I told is, we do a lot of training in terms of about stress. How do you manage your stress? See, as the HR will not come to know what is going in somebody's mind. Only when it is manifested we come to know, and we take those people to that test route. Now that test is free of cost. So anybody, so I do not know, you have not exhibited any behavior which tells that you are under mental stress. But still you can take the test. But that responsibility lies on the individual. Now what this test does is, it identifies, and somebody was talking about sleep deprivation. Most of the question is related to sleep, right, in that test. And you can take that test yourself now. How many hours you sleep, how much time you take to get to sleep. If you get up in the night, how many times you get up in the night. When you get up in the night, how many minutes you take to get to sleep again. These are the tests. And there are certain other things, like, do you like, there are several questions which clearly indicates at what kind of mental health you are. And if the total of, so there are two sets, one is stress and another is distress. So stress, as I said, will be happening to everybody. How it converts to distress is what this test captures. If your score is, in the distress score is more, you go to a psychiatrist and he takes care of either counseling or medication, right? Have I answered your question or something?
Not yet, I'm sorry. So I want to know who are not reaching to that doctor's phase. So what kind of best practices you have in the organization to support that group?
So if the test says that he or she is all right, then in HR team there are MA psychologists who can talk to them, who talks to them, and in case they need help, as I said, you have to have, you cannot have empathy just like that, because if you are doing too much of it, we are a company making medical device, we are not a psychotherapy company. If you really need it, we will help you, right? But we are not there in the business of removing anxiety from everybody's mind. That is not possible. If it gets reflected and that person comes to us, we will help them. We also do a lot of training and awareness. In the training program, you can say that this is the problem. So, now have I answered you now?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So if the time, okay, I think give the chance to others. Thanks.
I have been last 20 years an organizational development consultant, and I have found that one of the things which leads to stress, distress, or whatever degree is toxic workplaces, which includes peer colleagues, a toxic boss, and the total team climate environment. In the last 20 years, I have been working as an OD consultant. I have done these team building and leadership workshops, in which I embed one thing, little counseling and guidance skills to the team leader. Okay, I just want your reactions as learned psychologists and psychiatrists of how you all have seen this same issue.
We spoke about it in the initial phase of the conversation. We'll speak to you in person.
We did speak about it, sir. Yes, ma'am. I don't know, team, how much time do we have? I think Robin sir is already indicating bus karo. So maybe this is the last question. We'll connect over coffee, tea, or water. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's a great pleasure to be able to listen to all of you all. So I'm Dr. Netra Neelam, and I am the director of the Symbiosis Center for Management and Human Resource Development. I also have two of my colleagues, Dr. Pooja and Dr. Natasha, with me today. What I want to ask is, see, as a MBA school, we have about 400 students who join the world of work every year. And as you rightly mentioned, we all have some important, workshops or some bridge programs to ensure that their journey from the campus to corporate is a bit smoother. I want to ask the panel, it's not specific to any one individual, but what do you think we can do at our institutions to help make this journey much more enjoyable, So at Symbiosis we have a separate center for Symbiosis Center of Emotional Well-being.
I am aware of that.
So we do that.
Part
but
Symbi.
if you can, give us some quick tips that do this with your children, and I think they can be better fitted into the world of work.
There are enough programs on emotional competencies. Each one of you should read the book Emotional Intelligence, Working with Emotional Intelligence, Daniel Goleman. Enough data which says that you, if I were you, ma'am, I would start this training right in the first year of MBA. It has improved beyond doubt that IQ does not help you to reach. You need a threshold cognitive level, but if you do not have emotional competence, that can be started from the first year. That is one. Number two is your team. I'm part of the team also. I advise the team. You have an excellent team. So spend more time on mental health training through Narmada chats, Shekuti sa gappa mi manto, and other, so that this is a very crucial age where they can put. Bring them down from packages to understanding themselves, self-regulation, self-awareness, initiative and empathy. If you invest in that, Naya Bharat ka बहुत बड़ा काम वही होगा.
I'm going to add something. Absolutely pleasure. I'm actually traveling to an academic board discussion after this meeting. But when I talk to students, two things that I realized, and what I lacked when I began my own journey, and what nobody told me, is how to develop grit and resilience. I think most youngsters fail on the first assignment from moving to the college to the real world is resilience. As parents, as teachers, as friends, if you invest in your children and all the cohort in telling them the real world, when the rubber meets the road, it's going to smell, but what will last is the journey. I think everything will make the difference. My personal feeling.
We conduct workshops in MBA schools, resilience, relationships, and third, reform and repair. Reform and repair. Resilience means, as he beautifully said, grit. Relationships, how to work as teams, collaborative. And reform and repair means 3 साल में तुम गिरोगे, लफड़ा होएगा, पटक देंगे तुमको, तब कैसे उठना, फिर से strong होना. Thank you. At this point of time, I would like to thank my gratitude to all the corporate employees. I've learned a lot from them. Whatever I'm speaking is what you have shared with me in private, in person, and in groups. Especially HR. It's a dynamic place. They can change everything from within. They can put some sense in the CEO, HODs, and the verticals. And honestly, they do a great job. A little more on TCS. They have a beautiful campaign on mental health. The care champions, as they call them. So people who have recovered from depression, etc., they go and talk to others and help them access mental health. Thank you.
So with this, I think we'll sign off today. One point of note that I personally want to give to everybody here, I think long ago Lord Shankaracharya mentioned this, Aham Brahmasmi. I think it is all the self. Find anybody and everybody in yourself to find the self. I think most problems arise inside rather than outside. So thank you very much. Have a great conference and thank you.